So let's listen to kind of get what's going on with Mississippi to set the foundation for the conversation.
Not drink the water. In too many cases, it is raw water from the reservoir being pushed through the pipes. At the end of last week, I was briefed by the State Health Department on the discovery that Jackson's main water treatment facility has been operating with zero redundancies. We were told on Friday that there was no way to predict exactly when, but that it was a near certainty that Jackson would fail to produce running water sometime in the next several weeks or months if something did not materially improve. Unfortunately, that failure appears to have begun today. Until it is fixed, it means we do not have reliable running water at scale. It means the city cannot produce enough water to fight fires, to reliably flush toilets, and to meet other critical needs.
Now, is it a coincidence? That's the first question. That these sort of types of incidents, Flint, Baltimore, why is it always happening in black people? Like we're 16, we're whatever percent of the population in the teens, but we're getting 100% of the water problems. Like, how is that happening? If you're trying to tell me race does not play a part in this, I'll pass it to you for your first initial thoughts of the story, and it's a couple of more videos.
Yeah,
like we're gonna play the mayor speaking. Also, go ahead.
Yeah, that's the concept of environmental racism that a lot of people don't understand. It's not saying that the climate is racist. It's just saying that the result of the economic capitalist policies leads to our waters, our pipeline being poisoned. I covered how the military dumped toxic pollutants in poor and black communities. Why? Because they can get away with it there. They start dumping this shit in Hamptons. They get so many lawsuits. They dump toxic waste in indigenous waters in Hawaii. Like they focus on the most poor communities, and capitalism produces waste in the most poor communities because that's where they can get away with it. That's their testing ground. It's a class war. And guess who happens to be there? This is why on RBN we say class is race. And anyone who separates the two, they're being mistaken. Because if you are dumping toxic waste in poor communities, it's most likely going to be black, most likely going to be brown, most likely going to be a disenfranchised community. And that's what happened. That in this water crisis, like 80% of the population is black. Look at Flint. These are black communities. People think that's just random. It's our failed institution.
Get away with this and poisoning that they have done to these communities, to these babies, the deaths, and you know what I'm saying, the toll it will cause on these lives. So
let me play this other video. There is some audio, not all of it, but some of it, so I can play and we can listen to a little more of what's happening down there. We all gotta make sacrifices. We all gotta make sacrifices, okay? I'm only drinking Perrier now. Can you believe it? Just Perrier. I'm making my sacrifice. So go over there and drink that contaminated water.
We got a military fighter jet that failed to launch again. Okay, yeah. You realize we spent $500 million on a fighter jet. It didn't launch. Now we got to spend another $200 million on it, and she's complaining about water. Okay, we got to get the fighter jet off the ground. Okay, you guys realize we spend hundreds of billions of dollars on fighter jets, and she's complaining about water. What are your priorities? I want the fucking jets. We got to fight for the jets. Sorry, CJ. Go ahead. I had to laugh. I have to laugh because it's just fucking depressing. Like this is my coping mechanism. Sorry, go ahead, CJ.
And it's really affecting the way you having to cook. It's affecting
I just want to tell you what that sign said. It said conserve water. So they fuck up, take your taxpayer money, do nothing with, and then tell you it's your job. Let's pitch in and fix the problem they created. It's the same issue with climate. Recycle. Are you buying your Prius? When all you have to do is literally cut the military budget by 90%.
The top 1%.
They were saying this shit when Texas was.
Go ahead, Ron.
They were saying this shit when Texas froze over. It was like, oh well, you guys have to cut down your heat and whatever the fuck. Man, so many people in Texas died because of these people just negligence.
Violence. That's violence to me, man. Like that's violence by the state. But go ahead, CJ.
Yeah.
So you really
You think they would take a majority town that's white and say it's okay to bathe your white kids in?
Hell no.
Go home and bathe your white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed kids in some dirty, contaminated water. Or go bathe your black-skinned kids. They're okay. This is like what this is saying and how it's such a mundane thing. We are not delivering water to black people, and this is normal.
Yeah, this comment this comment by Lay is basically genocide. Only 50% of the Navajo have running water, maybe less. Flint, they still got birth defects that pop up there. The people that were victims of Flint, they're gonna have gene issues and problems, health problems for the rest of their life, and they're probably gonna pass it down to their kids. Like this is a structural form of genocide. Go ahead, CJ.
All right, it's a few seconds left, like 20.
So I want to add this now. The video wrapped up. The obvious. Imagine if this happened in a quote unquote socialist country. Oh my God, Venezuela don't have running and clean bath water. They can't even brush their teeth. Remember the story we did a while ago, the UN? We covered this during the early days of FHL, where the UN had an inspector. They were looking at Mississippi and the infrastructure in Alabama, and they were just looking at the quality of the life of the people that were living in rural areas, for example. And I saw this when I was in South Carolina. I grew up in poverty, far from money, right? But I looked at how some of these rural people in South Carolina live. They're like, what is this? I thought this is, remember them commercials on Africa? They show little kids and they live in the little huts. It's like they have like a trailer park. I'm like, bro, that's just a sophisticated hut. Like y'all got motherfuckers in huts, buried in water, and that's like how people live in the South in some areas. And the UN went to the Alabama, Mississippi, and they said, guys, you realize the quality of life. Like we give you guys an F for infrastructure. The quality of life that people live in Alabama, Mississippi, in a lot of these black communities is the same as what the United States call a third world country, right? Like we reject that language, but that's the language they use. They'll say, "Oh my God, look at these people in these third world countries."
Shithole country.
That's how people are living in this country. And I'm bringing this up because this is before this water crisis. Like this water crisis happened, I wasn't surprised. Once again, the UN rated the infrastructure of the South as an F. But hey, capitalism.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
I pulled a receipt up. It was a while ago, but I think I can find it. But look at this, and I want to remind you guys what it is. Because people think that different socialism is just when government does stuff. Capitalism is just when I own stuff. Like that's not how. Like it's central planning. Who owns the means of production? Who is deciding the central planning? Look at the central planning of this state. I have a lot of leniency towards countries that do not have a lot of resources, mostly because they are starved by the U.S. empire and sanctions, right? When you look at the DPRK, the DPRK is best for its citizens. Yeah, decolonize your mind, all the Western propaganda. They do the best they can. They just don't have a lot of resources because the West has waged an insane economic war against them. So I give them a lot of grace. Because the housing free there, healthcare free there, they get free food there. Like when they have peach overgrowths there, they gave up free food instead of throwing food away over here. But their quality of life there is not as high as it should be because they don't have the resources. They've been cut out from the global economic system. The United States, there is no excuse for this. The fact that the richest empire ever, that alone, this discussion between capitalism and socialism, there's no debate. I don't even care if you support socialism. The idea that capitalism works, it's fucking done. I don't care if you're socialist. At least make that it obviously doesn't work. How do you take the richest country and this happens?
How many times?
It's crony capitalism. It's crony capitalism, Nick. It's crony capitalism. We had real capitalism, this wouldn't be happening.
That's what they always say.
See, what happened was, CJ, Donald Trump's dad, he was a good businessman. Then the son, he became a crony capitalist. Then, they used to do good business. And it's just so ridiculous, the excuses people make for this system. Like, if you had a central planning system that will actually build on maintaining the quality of life for your people, you will upgrade the infrastructure so this doesn't happen. But if you have a central planning system where your society is based on profit, what's your incentive of doing that? In fact, in a capitalist structure where incentive and profit, I make the argument that you got incentive to poison these motherfuckers, CJ. Yep. Why? Because you can charge them from healthcare. Hey, you might well poison the motherfuckers. You can charge them from healthcare. They die. Hell, you got another house to sell.
Real estate.
Yeah, if you think about it in terms of profit, why the fuck should they care? But if you
pandemics, pandemics, I mean,
COVID, hell yeah. Remember, Fauci said, a lot of people ignore this. Fauci said years ago, he said, "Man, I really wish another pandemic hit. I want to see another pandemic hit before I retire."
What kind of shit is that?
He did say that. And when COVID hit, Big Pharma was like, "Hell yeah, nigga, we about to
be all right. We gonna be all right."
They was dying in there $1,000 a second. Nigga, holy shit!
A second.
And we about to put mayonnaise on these niggas. All y'all buying it.
All right, so let's listen to the mayor of Jackson speak on the issue of the water crisis in Jackson.
We've been lifting up these challenges since about 2018. I came into office in 2017. And so we've been going to state leadership to speak to these challenges ever since that point in time. This has been a combination of accumulated challenges over the course of time, more than 3 decades worth of challenges. And so I liken it to a vehicle. If you're changing the oil regularly, if you're rotating the tires, if you're giving its tune-up, then it's likely to function better. But when that has not taken place over the course of such a significant period of time as what has happened in Jackson, then you end up with larger, more substantial threats to your vehicle and to this system. And so we've been crying out to the state for the support. There has been inequity in what we've seen in Jackson versus other communities. And so we've been lifting that up. But at this time, what our focus is a focus on a coalition that works together, a coalition that is arm in arm, making sure that we work towards the residents of Jackson and making certain that we can conclude these challenges. We need an overhaul of our water treatment facility. In all actuality, a new water treatment facility would be in order because the water treatment facility we have has never functioned optimally and has had challenges from the moment that it was created. And so I think it is imperative that we work towards automating portions of the plant, the feed systems, weatherizing of the plant. Not only do we have the challenges, stemming from the flood on this event, 2 Februaries ago, the freezing temperatures of a February storm led to the debilitation of the plant at that time. We've seen this time and time again. We have hotter summers, colder winters, and more precipitation annually. And so this is all taking a toll on our infrastructure. And so on the short term, we're looking towards, the state's resources, in human capital and physical capital improvements to the plant. And long term, we're looking towards the combination of state and federal funds to make overall adjustments in the plant. We've been investing the money that we've had. We've invested $8 million towards a larger pipe just to service the South Jackson community. We've invested in a structure over our membrane side and the weatherization process to make certain that we aren't crippled like we were in February. We've invested in so many improvements in our water treatment plant, but we can't go it alone. We don't have $1 billion worth of resources to make this happen. Fortunately, we have the partnership and the collaboration of agencies like the U.S. Water Alliance and Kellogg that are working in conjunction with the city of Jackson so that we can put forth and prioritize that which has already been outlined by our order of consent with the EPA that identifies numerous challenges within our plants. We know what the challenges are.
So let me say this. I'm going to end his interview because it stops right there. I don't know this mayor.
Man, but the chat is going
very,
this nigga.
I'm a little suspicious because to me, he should be a lot more upset and he should
Yeah.
be speaking a lot more aggressively in his critique of the state, unless there's something else going on. And I don't know, if this person's in it for money or if this person's in it
You
because
know,
he's
for a
really
damn
trying
fact,
to.
he was coached.
He
Like,
would have been crying if he gave a fuck about his.
everything the politicians do is coach and rehearse. Like they had someone telling them, like, make sure you keep a calm, measured tone. The same way when Biden gave his speech yesterday, this coach was telling like, make sure you forceful the MAGA terrorists. So they told him in this speech, like, man, make sure you maintain a calm, cool. You don't want people to get upset. You don't want to call any social unrest. That's why they do it.
You don't want people to get in the streets and be mad like they should about this issue. And that's why I'm saying, to me, I just get a gut suspicious feeling about him and how he's describing this situation of your residents that you're a mayor of
This is the result
not having water. And has been a decades-long problem that hasn't been answered. And all you're saying is we're happy to have a partnership. That's it. Like that's to me. But go ahead. I got another clip, but go ahead.
This is just the result of black faces in high places under capitalism. Like these people will never serve the people. They are only in it for themselves. I bet his house isn't flooded. You know what I'm saying? I bet his second house isn't flooded. His people was well off. You know how many people their negligence murder? Like they displace millions of people, hundreds of thousands of people, and it's just, well, we tried our best and. Talking about putting $8 million in a pipeline, that's nothing. That's nothing for a town like Jackson. $8 million for a pipeline, that's nothing. You won't get anywhere with that. And we can see we can feel even from his tone that he has neglected his people, and he feel like he owes no responsibility because fuck you, we in it for himself, as long as he ain't hurt.
So this is Callie from Cooperation Jackson. He's down in near helping. This is actually, I'm not saying what Cooperation Jackson, but just because I'm thinking of it, like I want to get RBN to a place to where we could do this stuff. Where it's like, oh, this shit just happened in Jackson, Mississippi. Okay, me, you, Rome, and whoever, me, you, Rome, JB, Stabby, whoever can participate is on a plane to Jackson, and we're out here trying to facilitate help. So that's where I want to get to as RBN. But let's listen to Callie.
Currently in New Orleans, when the mayor issued the warning on Saturday for folks to evacuate, we took the situation very seriously and started organizing on a regional level our allies to start being able to deliver water to the city of Jackson. As the mayor noted, we are not new to this situation, unfortunately. So we could anticipate that we were going to need some resources independent of what the state was going to be able to offer and deliver. And in our case, not being at least in our immediate community, not being reliant on the timeline, particularly of the state government, to deliver vital resources to our community. Too often, they've declared emergencies and then not delivered in a substantial amount of time to actually help people on the ground. So our organization, along with several of our allies throughout the Gulf Coast, started mobilizing over the weekend to start gathering up resources to be able to deliver to the people of Jackson in their time of need. And it is a little bit worse than what we anticipated. We've been under these boil water notices, I think, as the mayor noted, for months. We've been under many of these on a constant level for years. So there's been a level.
They've been having this water problem. How much you want to bet they still have to pay their water bill? Right. How much you want to bet?
I can't bet you on that because I know they is because people with Flint are.
It's ridiculous.
Of awareness and preparation that many people in Jackson, have been attuned to for some time. But now that we've kind of reached this acute phase of system failure, we are going to be a bit overwhelmed. And I think the commentator that you had just talking about the situation, being untenable, that is really what it is going to be like, I think, for many in our city for weeks to come.
And Kali, I wanted to ask you, but this infrastructure issue and the racial inequities it reveals across the country. Several years ago, we had the situation in Flint. Subsequent to that, there was the crisis in Newark's public schools with infrastructure, lead pipes in the water. And now we're looking at Jackson. All of these cities are majority Black cities. Could you talk about this situation of the inequities that occur in our system when it comes even to infrastructure?
Well, number one, it's not by happenstance or coincidence. What we are experiencing now is literally just the crumbling of the empire's infrastructure. I think everybody needs to be clear about that, and that this has a long history. I think, as the mayor and other commentators have noted, if you really want to trace a lot of this back, it goes back to, I would argue, to the 1950s and 60s with the so-called urban renewal programs and the massive subsidization of the suburbs, which facilitated white flight out of many of these major cities, Jackson being one of them. And with that went major capital flight. And that has continued with very chronic programs of divestment and deindustrialization in many cases in most of the cities like Jackson, which is just left crumbling in infrastructure. And every city that you mentioned.
When the white people left, they neglected our city.
We can go on.
Facts.
On this story, this development, which was facilitated, by programs which were developed on a national level right after World War II, is what brings us to this dimension of the crisis. We also have to talk about, being honest and really linking this to the deeper issue of climate change and the threat that it is clearly now posing all over the world. I mean, just listening to your introduction, we're talking about droughts, in East Africa. We're talking about record flooding in Pakistan. We have severe drought going on in Western Europe right now, in the western portion of the United States. We have to look at this. I would encourage, the audience to look at all of these dynamics as a whole. And Jackson is just one of these kind of acute areas with this systemic policy around just totally subsidizing the petrochemical industry, for decades now, almost a century, but particularly in the United States for 50 years, is the other part of what has been driving this particular crisis, creating all of this systemic change. And if we look at, what's being proposed on the broader level, on the one hand, you have the federal government pushing.
I'm gonna pause it there because I do want.
Thank you, because
what we're seeing is the collapsing of an empire. He said it. We're witnessing, and it's just affecting. What do they always say? Who's gonna be affected more? The Black, brown, indigenous people, and that's what we're seeing. I'll pass it to you, Rom. Go ahead.
Yeah, and some of these people in the comments, y'all need to kill them. Y'all need to stop it with that white guilt shit, because when we talk about you fucking whites. You whites that's watching this don't have no fucking power. Why are you putting yourself in those people's shoes that we are talking about who have neglected our communities? When the white people, when the white flight did happen, the government did neglect Black communities. If you sit back, you can listen to a man who have lived through it tell you, but you're too busy trying to comment and scream at us. So chill the fuck out. And listen to the man talk about what happens in his community, man. It's just, God damn, y'all don't listen to Black people for shit.
They don't have to derail the segment. It is kind of curious why people so obsessed with separating race from class. When people say it's just a class issue. So are we not allowed to mention the fact that despite us being 13% of the population, these things still happen at a higher rate than us? I thought it was all supposed to be, I thought it was supposed to be facts over your feelings. It's just a fact that this happens.
I didn't notice that.
So does it make you uncomfortable? Are we not supposed to mention that? And that fact is related to class. I don't understand how that hard to understand. But let's continue.
I got a Zelda account. You got to inbox me on Twitter.
But if you don't get why people of color might say, or Black people in particular might say classes, I don't get why you just go, you know what? I don't get it, but okay, and you move on. I don't get the response sometimes. I don't get that. You're attacking the idea. It's like You don't agree with it, or you don't understand it is a better way of saying it. So move on. Like, I don't get that part. But go ahead, Roman, then we can get back to the
after the race riots in Detroit. After the race riots in Detroit, what happened? Another white flight. They got the fuck on. And to this day, we still have buildings that's burnt down from the 1960s. So they have neglected to rebuild our community, and they only want to rebuild it when the same white families that left during the white flights of those riots came back during gentrification. So kill me with that bullshit. And black people speaking up, listen, y'all might learn something. That's why y'all haven't built the organization yet, because it's hard for you to fucking take. It's hard for you to take in.
I think this concept, some people are just not going to get it, because if you think about it, there's no other ethnicity that has this position, because no other ethnicity has had what has been done to us. You get what I'm saying? So even when you're talking about the indigenous population, they were here. They weren't kidnapped from somewhere else. So there's a difference. But anyway, let's get back to the discussion, because what Callie was bringing up about what we're witnessing, because he was saying, make sure you understand, we're witnessing the collapse of an empire.